significant has been this album in terms of performance, like this album that you've just released?
Not particularly this album. Every album is very important, very significant, because every album is a new beginning, a new start. So for me, every album is a new challenge, and in this I'm working first time with Gulzar sahab, and all the 8 ghazals are written by him, and he uses new expressions, he brings fresh words, fresh similes, so that's another challenge for me.
Okay.
So,
Sorry. Since it's a new beginning and it's a new challenge, what kind of new beginnings will this album see as, like you venturing into a new beginning or a new challenge?
there's no kind of beginnings. New beginning. That I can realize, I can make out that this is a challenge. I cannot explain to you, because those are musical terms, poetic terms.
Okay. This album took around 6 years to complete.
No,
compile.
6 months to complete.
6 months to compile. Okay. How was the experience like?
Very simple. We used to meet together. Together we used to discuss about the poetry, about the ghazal, which one I should select. And I selected few he wrote fresh for me, especially for this album. And I started composing and recording.
Okay, from Mirza Ghalib to Marasim, how has been the relationship between you and Mr. Gulzar?
Marasim, actually Mirza Ghalib was a real Marasim between us. We came to know each other. कितने पानी में हैं दोनों. इनको भी थोड़ा सा मेरे बारे में अंदाज़ा हुआ कि what kind of job I can do. फिर इनकी पुखराज आई, किताब आई. उसके बाद सोचना शुरू किया, हाँ किया जाएगा, एक एल्बम करते हैं इससे. एक्चुअली मैंने 4-5 साल पहले वो टिक मार्क कुछ करके रखी हुई थी गज़लें किताब में.
वो actually the references to that first marking, and then we didn't get a chance to work.
फिर वो क्या है, गुलजार साहब बिजी हो गए, हम भी बिजी रहे, दूसरे काम, एल्बम, टूर वो. So after 6 years I got the chance to do it. When Sony people approached me for an album, so I told them, let's have Gulzar sahab with it.
Okay, Sony people approached you and then you decided you'll work with Mr. Gulzar. Mirza Ghalib was the last time you worked together, 9 years. Between that time you cut at least 4 or 5 albums. Why did it take so long for the two of you to get together?
There's no reason of these things. It didn't happen. There's a time for everything. संजोग जब तक नहीं होगा नहीं होगा कुछ.
Okay.
You cannot put any reason for that.
And should we look forward to another new album?
Maybe next year, maybe after 10 years. But definitely,
Okay,
we'll try.
The name of the album means the relations. Now, it's not one relationship that is described in the poetry, in the total poetry of the album. There are different kinds of different shades, different ups and downs of relationship, different experiences of relationship, which is described in the ghazals of this album. So when Jagjit ji suggested this name Marasim, I found it very appropriate because it covers the entire canvas of the relationships which I have described in it poetically.
Okay, and did you draw from your earlier collections or did you write new?
A few from my previous collection, and while Jagjit was composing them, I got charged and inspired. So I wrote a few new ones and handed it over to him. So that's how it worked.
You've worked with Jagjit Singh ji, Mirza Ghalib, and now in Marasim, a complete album. How significant was it in terms of a performance?
As a ghazal singer, I had always been his admirer, but he revealed himself to me as a composer in his entirety during the compositions of Ghalib. And since then I knew him not only as a singer of ghazals, I knew him even as the composer, because the range as a composer was very big, and he worked in Ghalib with a handicap, because he had to use only those instruments which were prevalent in the times of Ghalib. He could not use today's instruments for it, today's sounds he could not use it. So with that handicap, the way he composed them, and you know the result, I mean, which became a rage and which still exists. So since then it was a desire to do an album with him of my own ghazals. I started feeling selfish or perhaps envious of Ghalib, that well, he sang Ghalib, why not me? And I kept that flame burning inside till I got a chance.
Okay. How experimental has Mr. Jagjit?
Experimental it is, in the sense, experimental, as Jagjit says, it's new, all right. He doesn't call it experimental. Perhaps musically he may be right, he can express it better. But I do see that it's a modern rendering, it's not a traditional rendering of ghazal in spite of being a traditional form. It's not as the traditional ghazal is bound with sarangi and tabla only, or he could have kept that as the predominant use of sound. But he uses today's orchestra, today's sounds, the modern new even electronics, electronic instruments in it, and yet keeps the flavor of ghazal, keeps the flavor of the melody. I think that's a very great achievement as a composer for him.
Okay, talking a little personal, Meghna Meghna directed the album, music video for it. How was it like seeing her work on your project?
I saw it only after it was complete and done. I think it was between Jagjit and conspiracy between Jagjit and Meghna. They probably worked it out together. He handed over this work to her, and I'm happy that Sony Music trusted her with that job, and she delivered it rightly, and I'm happy about it, though I dread being directed by others.